What's up, guys? Dan here, Coalcracker in warm Pennsylvania. That's right, it is warm out. It's like a heat wave compared to last week, so I'm super pumped about that. I was out today messing around with some shelter setups. This is called the Arrowhead Shelter, a fun one, a great wintertime shelter setup that you can utilize with your larger tarps. This is a 10 by 10 that we have set up, and it provides a lot of coverage, and also it is a heat trap when it comes to staying warm in the winter. All right, so you're gonna see, I'm gonna break this shelter down and then we're gonna reset it up, and you're gonna see where the name Arrowhead comes from, and it's because looking at it from the backside, it looks a lot like an arrowhead. Why this is really nice for the winter time is because of the fact that it is still an open face shelter, so you can put a fire out in front and stay nice and warm and comfortable throughout the night, but then you also gain extra protection on the sides. So if you're out in the winter time and you think a storm might be coming in, or we get a lot of those strange cross winds that come in, this is going to help protect. And then lastly, because of the shape of it and it's so enclosed, that heat that's radiating off the fire gets trapped inside that shelter, and it is extremely warm. And then if you're in very cold conditions, you can always bring a clear piece of plastic and drop it over the front and create that super shelter design that's going to act like a greenhouse effect and just really trap that heat in there. So this works. I mean, it is absolute wonders. You do need to use a bigger tarp for this setup, because you can see we get some ground coverage from the tarp, and just the construction of it itself, you just need a lot of material. So let's break this thing down and get right into it. Okay, so step one, you're gonna set up your fixed ridge line. Now, when you set this up, we generally say belt height, no different for here. So I'm right at my belt. You are going to have to possibly, depending if you have a bigger shelter than a 10 by 10 or a smaller shelter than a 10 by 10, adjust this accordingly, and you're gonna see in the next step how you're going to determine that. But 10 by 10, probably even 9 by 9, you can squeeze by with it at belt height, so that's what we're going to go with. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the center tie out on your tarp. Now, when you do this, you have to also check where your seams are, so the tarp seams. Now, on a 10 by 10 tarp or larger, you're generally going to have 2 seams. You can't put 1 seam on a tarp, because when you have material made at a mill, it can only come to a certain width. So the width of the material, you can't put 2 pieces together and make 10 by 10. So you have to put 3. So you want to make sure that those seams run from the front of the shelter to the back. Okay, if they run side to side, it's not going to lay properly. So I'm going to find my center edge tie out, okay, and then I'm going to move to the right and the left, 1 tie out from there. So my center point is here, and here's my 2 tie outs on each side, and I'm going to put them up on my ridge line utilizing my prusik and my toggle. Okay, so you can see that the front of our shelter is now set up. Now, this was where I said you have to judge your height. So if we look at the bottom of the shelter where those front areas touch, okay, so you can see right here, you want to make sure this is touching the ground. If it's like this high up off the ground, you can't stake it out properly. So you want to make sure when you do that you're gonna be able to get a good nice stake out on the ground. For wintertime, generally what we want to do is we want to use a heavier, longer stake that's made of metal, because we can pound that down in the ground. And listen, we're carrying big heavy equipment anyway. A couple metal stakes isn't going to hurt anything at this point. All right, so now we move to the back of the shelter. I'm going to use that center tie out, and as you can see, there's a seam here and there's a seam here. So my seam orientation is correct. And I'm going to take that center tie out point, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this really nice and tight, and you can see it's starting to create that arrowhead shape. So I want to pull this really nice and tight, and I want to sink my stake down into the ground like that. And now we're going to go back to the front and stake out the front stakes. Okay, so what you're going to notice here is we have a really nice style shelter at this point. So what we have is we have the front lifted, we have sides that we built, and then it's going to peek out towards the back, creating that arrowhead shape. Now, there's a lot of material left on the sides of this shelter that's unused, so we're going to tuck that underneath and bring it towards the inside of the shelter to help aid on ground coverage. Now at this point, we have ground coverage on the inside. Our shelter is close to complete. As far as setup goes, to me, I'm happy with how this is. I'd of course maybe want to put my gum blanket down, and then I'd want to get maybe some browse from some evergreens or something in here if I don't have an inflatable or foam pad to help protect me from the ground so I don't stay really cold. But fire out front, it's going to heat this shelter up tremendously, keep you really warm. Let's show you the backside though, because that's really where the name originates. So there you go. There is our Arrowhead Shape in the back. Nice and pointy, but it creates a lot of coverage, and also wind coming in this direction is going to shed off this thing really, really well. And it actually works to the point that it funnels the air outward, not close to your fire. So with your fire out in front, you don't get a lot of extra smoke buildup or heat dissipation out away from your shelter, because the shape of this is funneling it outward. All right, and there's another fun shelter setup for everybody. I hope you enjoyed this one. I know this is a really nice wintertime shelter, like I said at the beginning. Give this one a shot, set it up, see how you like it. Let me know down in the comments. And if you like this video, hit like and subscribe down below. You can also check us out at Coalcracker, Bushcraft.com for all our classes, our gear, and our blog. And until next video, stay in the woods.